Hello everyone. Finally back. Going to try and be doing some regular videos here now. Now I got my new camera here. Seems the big thing everybody's doing right now is top 10 horror films of the past decade lists. I'm not a huge fan of making lists myself. My tastes always seem to change, But I figured, what the hell? And I figured if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it bigger than anybody else has done it yet. So, I'm doing my top 50 horror films of the last decade. I just want to preface this by saying that I did have some criteria in that I had to own it. Because if I don't own it, I obviously don't think it's that good, and I'm fooling myself. That was pretty much the only criteria. So, there are things missing from this list that I like. It's not perfect, it's a list, yada yada yada. I'm just doing this for fun, something to do, and something to kill some time doing. So, we're going to start here with number 50, which is Beyond Re-animator. This is the third film in the Re-animator series. Not the greatest movie, shot in Spain, and you can tell that pretty much the entire cast, other than Jeffrey Combs, is Spanish. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But what I like is, and the thing I've liked about the Re-animator films, the sequels anyway, is that there's always a progression in West's research. In the first one, it's about perfecting the serum. In the second one, he goes off on this body part tangent. And then on this one, he's all about trying to preserve the mental aspects and counteract the batshit crazy nature of all the reanimated subjects. So I like that. But the real reason I like this is because it's a fitting wrap for the character, because they're probably never going to do another one. And it's just a good ending. It's just a good ending for Herbert West, and a character that you, even though he's a psychotic bastard, you like him. So, Beyond Re-animator, number 50. Number 49, not necessarily a horror movie. People might have problems with this. Pitch Black, starring Vin Diesel, who I'm not a fan of, to be honest. This is clearly a sci-fi movie, but a sci-fi horror film, and essentially a monster movie. You could set this in modern day without, with some weird goings on. It wouldn't be that difficult. Just lots of cool style, cool monsters, just a good old monster flick, like 50s monster flick, but just with a lot of fucking style. So yeah, I really like this one. This is overlooked kind of movie, especially by horror fans. So, number 48. I know a lot of folks out there don't care for the J horror, but there will be some on this list, and this will be the first one. Uzumaki, which means spiral. This is based on a series of graphic novels by a guy called Junji Ito, which are excellent graphic novels. I suggest you pick them up, as well as a series he did called Gyo. And this is just kind of a low-budget adaptation of the 3 Uzumaki graphic novels. These are just kind of bizarre, wacky, strange stuff. Not great by any intents and purposes, or stretch of the mind, or whatever. But definitely will have some imagery in there that you won't forget. So there's some really interesting stuff in here. Like I said, if you like J-horror, check this out. If not, you probably not going to do much for you. But that's Uzumaki coming in at 48. 47, I don't own. It's actually in the mail, on the way in the mail. So I'm going to flash up a picture here. So that's Drag Me to Hell, the latest horror film from Sam Raimi. Been a lifelong Sam Raimi fan. Drag Me to Hell, I don't love it, I don't hate it. It has some things going for it that A lot of other horror films don't. It's definitely one of the grossest horror films in a while. And just a hell of a lot of fun. I miss his splat stick humor. I mean, there's not a lot of horror films coming out where they drop an anvil on an old lady's head and her eyeball flies out, you know. So, that's Drag Me to Hell at number 47. This is something for the haters to get on me, get after me on. Number 46, Hostel. Say what you will, I don't think this movie is nearly as bad as people say it is. I'm not going to sit here and say it's great or high art. But I think there's a lot of interesting subtext in the film if you want to look for it. I mean, if you just want to watch gore and boobies, this is fine too. But I think there's a lot of weird, at least in the two Hostel films, Eli Roth tends to play a lot with the sexuality of his characters, and I find that very interesting. But no, I don't think this is bad. It's a very Wicker Man. Oh, it's got a Wicker Man homage in it very clearly. You know, it's definitely influenced by a lot of things. You could do a lot. There's a lot worse films than this out there. So Hostel, I'm going to put it over at 46. Another one people might hate on me for, number 45, Ju-on. This is the movie that was remade as The Grudge. Again, not for non-J horror fans, really. But this was really the first movie that tried to cash in on the Ring series, the original Ring series. And I just find some of the imagery in this edition, not the remake, that's for sure. This original has some creepy stuff in it and can freak you out a little bit. So, Ju-on, not bad. Again, not for the J-horror non-fans. Not a very accessible film. But if you like the stuff, this is a classic. So, number 44. Again, another film a lot of people hate on. Saw. Let me just tell you now, my list does get a lot better if you think these movies suck ass. Remember, this is the top 50. So, but Saw, not a bad movie. Entertaining thriller. Danny Glover sucks in it. That's probably the weakest point. Some may have some issues with the logic, but for the most part, I think it's a good thriller. It's well shot. It's interesting. I think James Wan is a fairly talented guy, and Saw, original Saw. You know, screw the series and the cashing in and all that jazz. But the original is good. It holds up still. Coming in at number 43 is a movie I don't see a lot of people talk about. It's Dead Birds. This is a independent horror flick. I believe this was made by one of the guys who did The Last Broadcast. This is a horror movie set during the Civil War period and follows a number of soldiers who come upon a farmhouse that is haunted. There's some really creepy shit in here. If you've never heard of this, check it out. Give it a rent. I wouldn't buy it. You know, it's got the effects are a little lacking in terms of the CGI, but there's not a lot in there. And overall, it's just a really creepy, underrated movie. So that's Dead Birds at number 43. Number 42, Freddy vs. Jason. I know a lot of people were down on this for two big reasons. The idea that Jason is afraid of water, which, while is a bunch of horse shit, makes a lot of sense, at least for this movie's story. He has to have some kind of weakness. The other thing I know people were down on a lot was Ken Kurtzinger's casting as Jason, as over Kane Hodder. I like Kane Hodder. I don't think Ken Kurtzinger doesn't bring a lot to the role, but he doesn't, it's not like he shits all over it or anything like that. He's a stuntman. He was in Part 8. Yes, those things are blows against the movie, but I just can't get over how undeniably fun this movie is. It's Freddy versus Jason, and it's just, especially the fighting between them, and some of the using elements from the Dream Warriors and some things like that. It's just good fun. It's a good monster smackdown. Good stuff. So okay, let's see. Rounding off the bottom 10, we have a French film called Them. You would probably know this as The Strangers, because Strangers is basically a remake of this movie. Except instead of a bunch of random fuckers, the random fuckers have more of a point in this film. And I won't say it so as to spoil it, because you should see this movie. If you liked The Strangers or didn't like The Strangers, you should see this movie. It's one of the more solid home invasion films in a long time. It's available on DVD. It's pretty easily accessible. Check it out if you've never seen it.